Have you truly let go? Have you truly let go of the control in which you think your life should be or look like and trust God? Oftentimes we say this, but our actions look completely different, and that's what I want to talk about in today's video.
Some tears, some stress, but I count my blessings.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I love making videos like this one, but I also do fashion content, travel, daily vlogs in general. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I hope you subscribe, become part of the family, but also stay tuned for today's video. So as I mentioned, a lot of us, we say we trust God, we believe in God, we know that He exists, but we don't truly show within our actions that we trust Him, that we've released the control of where we think we should be or over our lives and given it to Him. And so I really want to start this video with a Bible verse. I'm going to be reading from the Message translation for those that is wondering. And so I want to start with Matthew chapter 6. I'm going to go into, also have my notebook so that I don't forget anything. But I'm going to start with Matthew chapter 6 verse 34. And again, I am in the Message translation for any of those who are just wondering. I'm also on the Bible app too. This is not sponsored LOL, but I do think the Bible app is a really good app to have. It has different verses of the days, etc. So without further ado, let's get to the actual verse of the day, which it states, give your entire attention to what God is doing right now. And don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. Moment of silence for that, because I even needed that reminder, which is why I'm making this video. And so one of the things that I had to look at when I was saying I trust God, I was saying, oh God, my life is yours, but my actions was not reflecting that, and that is through my yearly goals. I was sitting with this reflection today and honestly this week, and I was like, that is a clear indication that I really don't trust God. I'm really not giving Him control. And so now moving forward, I do not make yearly goals. I do not make vision boards, manifestation boards, prayer boards, none of that. And one being because that is a clear indication, that is a sign that you don't really trust God. You're not really allowing God to have control over your life. Now, I know this may sound controversial, but follow me, because we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. So oftentimes I see, including with myself, we make these yearly goals, right? Like from the beginning of the year, or even from the end of the previous year, about all the things we want to do, all the things we want to accomplish. And then we do a checkup. Maybe once a month, once a quarter, we check up on our goals. And what tends to happen is we often find a lot of guilt and shame, because we're looking over these goals we made at the end of the previous year or the beginning of the year, and without fail, there's probably at least 2 to 3 things that just has not been going the way you thought. What tends to happen is you feel guilty, you feel shameful, you feel as if you're a failure because you didn't stick to the things which you wrote down. I was watching this video, and this woman, she pretty much put on her yearly goals, because she was doing like a quarterly checkup, which was to study Korean once a month. And while that may seem like, oh, it's not too hard, what happened was she also signed up for, I want to say it was a half marathon. And so with that, it took a lot of training out of her to prepare for this half marathon, as it would for any of us. And so she just didn't have the same time to pour into learning Korean, because she was training for that marathon along with still working a 9 to 5, still trying to pour into other passions she had, and also dealing with her mental health, because the truth is some days you just may not feel the best. Now doing this monthly checkup, or I think it was honestly a quarterly checkup, she realized she had not stuck to that monthly goal. Honestly, she went about 2 months without studying Korean because her focus, one of her top priorities, was training for the half marathon. Now she's like, oof. Going through her video, there was another goal that she just did not stick to. And again, to bring into that consideration, we plan out our lives. And then when life happens, because life's going to happen, right? We often can feel so guilt and so shameful because we didn't stick to certain things, you know? Another example of this is if someone told you, hey, like, I know your birthday's coming up. I want to alleviate some stress from you and I want to plan you a birthday party. Don't worry about anything. All you're going to have to do is just show up. That's what they tell you. And you're like, oh my gosh, thank you. This is going to be just so helpful. And next thing you know, the next day you're texting them like, oh, but can you make sure that you have these type of foods and this type of decoration and this type of dessert? And then the next day you're like, oh, and also make sure that you don't invite these people and that you do invite these people. Oh, and make sure that these people don't sit next to each other. And then the next day you're like, but also I know I said I wanted pink balloons, but can we make it like blue balloons now? I'm kind of feeling blue and I really want that. Also, here is the place of the cake that I want. They're really nice. Matter of fact, I'll call them for you so that you don't have to worry about it because I know you're kind of busy. So I'm going to call them, you know, and I'm going to make sure that they have the cake ready. And then another day, and you're like, also, but I'm going to be wearing this outfit. Can everyone wear white? I really would appreciate if everyone was wear white. You is not trusting that this person is planning your birthday. Fast forward, your birthday happens, and you're like, oh, thank you so much for planning this. And they're looking at you like, girl, I didn't plan this. You planned this. Like, you planned everything. I just showed up to it, I guess, you know? And sometimes we have to look at it in a symbol of that. That is what we're doing to God. We're saying, God, I could be control. I trust you. And then we are making these vision boards. We're making these manifestation boards. We're making these yearly goals. And it's like, are you sure you really trust God? And I say wait because I fall victim to this myself, where I've bought the planners, I've made the vision goals, I made the manifestation boards, prayer boards, whatever you want to call it. And it was me having control, trying to have control of my life. And when those things didn't happen, I felt so down. You know, I remember when I was 21 or about to turn 21, I put on, like, I made a vision board. And on that vision board, I put I wanted to go to Paris, and I wanted to go to Paris and turn 21 in Paris. That did not happen. But you know what did happen? Literally the next year I went to Paris. I had an amazing time. And not only did I go to Paris, but I went by myself. And that was something that I never saw in the book, that I would travel by myself, especially out of the country. But I did. It was an amazing time. And so oftentimes we get so focused on when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, that we don't truly trust God. And God is saying, I got you. You're so focused on your timing. You're so focused on how it's going to happen, what it's going to look like, when it's going to happen, that you haven't really trusted me. And, you know, after going back to that vision board I made, when the year ended, I could look and I could be so down. Which the thing about it is, when I turned 21, I was in New York City. I was in New York City with my twin brother, with my mom, with my older brother, and my other brother. Well, cousin, but I call him my brother. And that trip was so amazing. It was like our first like legit family trip out of the state. It was amazing. And God knew, like, I didn't need to go to Paris when I was 21. Like, Paris is still gonna be there. And I literally went the next year. And I look at that board and I'm like, you had all of these things in which you was trying to pinpoint out for your life, but that year ended way better than I could have imagined. Did some of the goals or most of the goals I written down just didn't happen? Absolutely. When I look back at that year, I'm like, okay, I didn't go to Paris, but I went to New York City with my family and we ate some amazing food. We took some amazing videos. I started YouTube that year, which was just crazy because I had been talking about it. I posted a video on my YouTube channel of us just enjoying ourselves in New York City. One of the nights there, we just watched movies and we talked, and it was just so nice, you know? And so I think to myself, like, Ashley, that was just as beautiful, if not better, than your little holding on to, I want to go to Paris. Like, it was gonna come, and it did come, and you had an amazing time. So that's another reason, you know, why I honestly took a deep look at myself. And I don't make yearly goals. I don't make vision boards. I trust that where I'm supposed to be is where I will be. How my life's supposed to look is how it will look. Because I trust God. I'm giving God the control. Another thing is too, you don't know what's gonna happen. Life is gonna life. You know, you could say, oh, I'm gonna save $10,000 by the end of the year, and then, God forbid, something goes wrong with your car. Now you're having to put down, an X amount of money to deal with your car. You don't know how life is gonna happen. But back to this verse, trusting that when life happens, God has you. Again, it says God would help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. I'm truly believing that. I'm like, God, I'm not making those yearly goals anymore. Because I'm trusting that whatever's supposed to happen will happen. And whatever happens, you're going to give me the strength. You're going to give me what I need when I need it to get through this, as you've always have. Now, I told you what not to do. I am going to focus on some things what you should do to show that you are trusting God, you're giving God control. Now, while I know that I mentioned yearly goals, I'm not going to also sit here and say that goals in themselves are not good or could be healthy, because they can. I think that goals do have a good overall reasoning for why we make them. But it is about being very critical of how we're making our goals. And so for me now, I'll use a perfect example of my own life. When I would go into work, I would write down like a 10 to 11 to-do list of all the things I needed / wanted to get done that day. But then what happened is, once the day is over, I'll look at that list, and without fail, 1, 2, even 3 things would not be done. Then I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling shameful. Like, oh, I didn't get those things done. What am I doing again? I am now not trusting God. And what I'm doing internally is I'm putting my worth to the things that I'm accomplishing. This is also why it's important to get rid of those yearly goals and really trust God. Because what tends to happen is we're now attaching our worth to what we are doing, our worth to what we are accomplishing, when the truth of it all is our worth comes from God and God alone. Our worth, our self-value comes from God above, not what we have accomplished, not how successful we think we are compared to the world, but truly what God says we are, which is his creations and love. So now what I do instead is I make sticky notes, right? Because sometimes we can be forgetful. So I make a sticky note and I put it on my desk. Somebody calls me, somebody sends me an email, they need something done. Okay, write on the sticky note, boom, boom, put it on my desk. What I do is I now go through each sticky note. Okay, this is really hot. Let me work on this right now and get that done. Okay, boom, got that done. This is also really hot or kind of medium. Let me just go ahead and do it. Let me get that done. Boom. What doesn't get done that day wasn't that hot, because I went ahead and prioritized hot things first. And 2, didn't need to be done today. They will be done tomorrow, and that is okay. Now I've released control over, oh my gosh, I didn't do those things that I said I was going to do today, because I didn't put a day on it. I didn't put a time limit on it. I just wrote it and was like, when I get to it, I'll get to it. If it's Tuesday, it's Tuesday. If it's Wednesday, it's Wednesday. And again, I do kind of characterize, okay, this is really hot. Let me go ahead and work on this. But at the same time, I'm not so caught up in how much I'm doing. If I just did 3 things that day, then that's how it was. That's the thing that was hot. They got done. Who cares? It was just 3 things technically. Those things took up a lot of my time. And that is why there were only 3 things that I got done today. The next day, maybe I knocked out 10. Great. But no matter what, I'm getting things done, and that's what's important. Not how much I'm getting done or what all of the things that I can possibly add on my to-do list. No. Another thing that you can do when it comes to goals is to go off of how you feel, okay? So again, making yearly goals, you're not going to know how you feel in the next month, let alone 6 months, and you're making all these goals. That's very unrealistic. Instead, make either monthly goals or even weekly goals. But again, be very cautious of how you make these goals. So for me, one of the goals I made for the month of April is to run more. Kept it very simple. Run more. I didn't put what time I wanted to run. I didn't put, what days I wanted to run. I didn't do that. And I know this can be, again, kind of controversial for some people because they'll say, well, that's how you're not going to stay disciplined because you have excuses. But the truth is, okay, we've made all these goals and we're still not disciplined. So is that really the issue? And for me, I've learned when I make those goals, like every Monday and Friday, I'm going to run 2 miles. I'm going to run at 5 a.m. What happens when one Monday you wake up and you don't feel good? But that afternoon, you feel really good. And you're like, oh, I want to go for a run. And you go for a run and you do a good job. Okay? So for me, I just put run more. If it's Mondays at 5 a.m., great. If it's Tuesdays at 6 p.m., great. I got outside, I got some fresh air, I was in nature, and I ran. That is a beautiful accomplishment. I don't have to worry so much about the time or how fast or how long, but simply just getting out there and running, finding love with running, and being happy that I'm doing it for fun and not so strict about it. So those are just some ways that you can let go control, and just some ways that, you know, obviously you're practicing really surrendering it to God. Again, some people may agree, some people may not agree, but I would highly, highly suggest taking a look at your yearly goals and really asking yourself, do they serve God? Number one. Number two, are they aligning with you saying you trust God, saying you give your life to God? Or are they really in line with what you want, the plans you have, the control you are still holding on to when it comes to your life? And lastly, number three, you know, are these goals that, again, you're really supposed to even be trying to work towards? Make them simple and trust that God has you. Trust that He will not put you in any place that you're not ready for or prepared for. He has you. He loves you. He knows you. And so that's what I really wanted to talk about in today's video. I think I may do a little bit of a series on this video because I don't want to make this video too long today. So I may do a part 2 on some other things I want to talk about. So surrounding like our finances. I really want to kind of do a video on, are we trusting God with our finances? Because I know that I've been in a boat where I have not trusted God when I said that I did, especially with my finances. So stay tuned if that sounds like a video you would want to watch, because I'm thinking about doing one very soon on that. But for this video alone, we just were talking about goals and really, again, bringing it back to home, bringing it back to the main point of releasing that control of where you think you should be, where you think your life should look like, and trusting that God has you. So without further ado, before we end this video, I want to say a prayer over everyone that clicked on today's video, and, you know, just again remind us that God has us, we're not alone. So if you can, close your eyes, but don't feel like you have to. God, I come right now in prayer for everyone that is watching or listening to this video. I pray that they know their life is not ours, and we can now release control. We can release control to you, God, for you will not abandon us. You will not forsake us, for you will help us get through everything in due timing. I pray they release that control of the things that didn't happen or the things that they thought should happen, and trust that everything happened in its own divine timing as it was meant to be. That they are exactly where they are supposed to be, that everything is happening for them, not against them, that they are loved, they are enough, they're supported, and they're not defined by the things they accomplished or how successful they may be compared to somebody else, but instead we're defined in which you called us, God, which are children of the Most High, children of the greatest God. And so we can live in that, knowing that we don't have to worry about anything, but in all trust you, for you have us. Again, you won't forsake us, you won't leave us, you're right here with us. I pray for this, God, in your mighty, mighty name. Amen, amen. And as always, if no one has told you, I'm here to tell you that I love you. You are enough. I'm proud of you. You are doing enough, and you are exactly where you're meant to be. So without further ado, that was all for today's video. Please feel free to subscribe, comment, like if you enjoyed this video, and until next time.